The Democrats are making big moves across the country, winning elections in places that were previously known to be Republican strongholds. Here in Texas, we saw a young Democrat win a historically deep red district in the Fort Worth area, and even in Florida, Trump's own sanctuary in West Palm Beach has been won over now by a Democrat.
Jessica, besides shutting the government down twice, what have the Democrats accomplished since Trump was sworn in?
Well, I mean, when you're in opposition, it's very hard to have an accomplishment. Like, obviously, you couldn't get a piece of legislation through on your own. There have been, I guess, some bipartisan wins, but a big accomplishment is we're winning a ton of elections in the Trump era. And I plan on talking about that in every single block as we go through the day. Donald Trump's new legislative representative is a Democrat, and Mar-a-Lago now belongs to us. So that was a big win. Listening to this. No, it's a state legislative district.
Oh.
But Palm Beach County is won by a Dem anyway.
Okay, got it.
But 9-point flip. It's the 30th since January 2025.
Emily Gregory won the Florida State House seat for Florida District 87, which includes parts of West Palm Beach, specifically the part that includes Trump's private resort, Mar-a-Lago. Trump did vote in the election, but he voted by mail, which is an obvious point of contention in itself, so obvious that I don't think I actually need to tell any of you how hypocritical it is that the man who's been warning about the dangers of mail-in voting for years votes by mail. Clearly, it's not so bad or unreliable that Trump himself can't do it.
I did a mail-in ballot for elections that took place in Florida because I felt I should be here instead of being in the beautiful sunshine taking.
But you were in Palm Beach, sir, the last few weekends.
That's right, and I decided that I was going to vote by mail-in ballot because I couldn't be there because I had a lot of different things.
That aside, Emily Gregory beat out Republican John Maples for the seat. She won by just 2 points, or 750 votes, but it was enough. In fact, when you consider the bigger picture, those 2 points are pretty remarkable. Gregory's 2 points actually represent a 21-point swing from Republicans to the Democrats. In 2024, the seat was won by Republican Mike Caruso, who won by 19 points. Trump also won the district by 11 points in the 2024 presidential election. Caruso vacated the seat last year when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis appointed him as clerk of the circuit court and comptroller of Palm Beach County. This triggered the special election that ultimately elected Gregory. And typically, margins like 19 and even 11 points feel pretty safe. They're not always prioritized as places that need active campaigning from either party because the incumbent party isn't worried about losing the seat and the challenging party doesn't feel that they stand a chance, so usually it's not worth the resources to campaign in these places. Usually. But these are unusual times. If the Democrats are doing literally anything right now, it is this. It's seizing an opportunity when one has been very generously presented to them. Trump's approval ratings are in the toilet, and they have been for a long time. He's got low approval ratings overall, but he's also got low approval ratings whenever you look at individual issues. Even his illegal war in Iran is wildly unpopular between both parties, and while his MAGA loyalists seem to like it for reasons they don't even seem to understand, their coalition is shrinking. Even in places like West Palm Beach, a place that is almost synonymous with republicanism in the minds of most Americans, isn't as red as many of us may think. When Caruso first won the seat in 2018, he beat the Democrat by winning by just 50.02% of the vote, just 32 votes. Of course, it triggered a recount and ultimately he won. He won his re-election by much more, but at that point he was an incumbent, so they always win by more. But victories like the ones Democrats have been seeing across the country are more than encouraging. As the Daily Beast points out, 21-point swings would disrupt all of Congress and result in the worst GOP midterms in a century. And maybe 21 points is a lot to ask across the board, but plenty of Republicans in Congress don't have that much of a cushion. If every district across the country experienced a uniform 21-point swing compared with the margins the Republican incumbent won in 2024, the Democrats could pick up 70 seats in the House on top of the 215 they currently hold, giving them a landslide majority in the chamber. That would see Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who won her seat by a margin of 9.6 points in 2024, lose her seat. Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado, who won her seat by a margin of 11.6 points, would also lose her seat, among many other well-known names. Historically, picking up 70 seats doesn't happen very often. Most recently, Democrats picked up 41 seats in 2018 during the first Trump administration, which was already incredible. But across the country, even in districts that are unlikely to flip, Republicans are winning by far smaller margins than what Trump won by. When you have a cult of personality, that personality goes a long way. However, it doesn't necessarily transfer to other members of his party. Even Trump endorsements don't go as far as perhaps they once did. In Texas, for example, we had a very contentious primary for the Republican Senate seat. The polling was back and forth throughout the entire campaign, so neither candidate was ever seen as the clear winner in the race. As a result, Trump refused to endorse either candidate, which many people understood to mean that he didn't want to be seen endorsing a candidate who would then go on to lose the race. Even he has apparently lost some kind of confidence in the weight of his own endorsements, and this is a race where the primary goal of both candidates was to prove that they are more loyal to Trump than the other guy. The race was eventually won by the incumbent, but not by a wide enough margin, so the two candidates will face each other again in a runoff in May. And speaking of Texas, I mentioned earlier that a Democrat recently won a red district in the Fort Worth area. That's underselling the story, but I will let Harry Enton tell you all about it because he is much more exciting and fun than I am.
Texas 9, because what happened in Texas 9, it didn't just swing to the left, it took a rocket ship to the left. My goodness gracious, the Texas 9 Senate District election marches. This was a district that Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points. That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Any Republican, unlike Ron DeSantis, who doesn't take this seriously, they should realize that this is very perilous. They ignore this result at their own peril. Ron DeSantis is right to say, hey, special elections can be quirky, but this ain't no quirks.
It's funny that he specifically told DeSantis to watch out because here we are just a couple of months later. And speaking of predictability, Enton said that these special elections are more than worth paying attention to. Historically speaking, special elections have forecasted what will happen in the midterm elections. I went all the way back since I was in high school, back to the 2005-2006 cycle, and every single time that a party outperformed the presidential baseline in the next midterm election, what we saw was 5 out of 5 times that party went on to win the U.S. House of Representatives. So what is happening right now in Mar-a-Lago is unlikely to stay in Mar-a-Lago. It is likely to expand nationwide and to expand in the midterm elections as well. I also was in high school in 2005-2006, and my 20-year anniversary is coming up, which is fun. I'm not going. With the fracturing of MAGA, there are plenty of Americans who are now without a party. Neither party represents their ideals, which makes sense because why would we ever expect people to fit neatly into one of two boxes, especially when those two boxes encompass a buffet of policy preferences and identity-related ideals? Our two political parties represent giant umbrellas, but until the system changes, this is the one that we've got. I'm constantly disappointed by the Democrats, but I vote for them, and while you can argue that that is rewarding bad behavior or mediocrity, and you wouldn't be wrong, some people who live in certain places simply cannot afford, especially now in a literal sense, the alternative. I live in Texas, and I've seen my rights called into question and taken away by the Republicans who run my state. I've seen fear-mongering against entire populations of people, including people who look like me. I've seen them destroy our ecosystems. I've seen them court billionaires from California, making policies that benefit them at the expense of the rest of us. I've seen them force Christianity onto a secular population while crying about Sharia law, which, by the way, is not a thing in Texas. I can't afford to sit my elections out. For the former MAGA, maybe they're not ready to be called Democrats, and if they don't like the Democrats, you can't blame them. I don't like them most of the time either, but if ever there was a time for a progressive to run, I would say that time is probably right now. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.